Hi and welcome to Tweet Street. I'm Mick Tiffany and I'm a novice lizard canary keeper and breeder. Join me on my journey as I strive to breed birds good enough for the show bench. Hello again everybody, welcome to Tweet Street. This is episode 27 and in this episode I've got three little bits to talk about, which was smells and pongs. It was on Facebook in the week and somebody there saying how bad their birds were smelling. Don't really get it, so I'm just going through what I do and hopefully that will help understand what might cause pongs. Training, just started. I've only got one training cage, but just how I'm slowly getting the birds into jumping in there quite happily. And just an update with the birds. I've changed who's going outside into the actual aviary outside and who stays in. I can alternate them. I've sorted a few different birds out, and I've got 3 empty cages at the minute, which we'll hopefully single some more off shortly. So that's episode 27. So in the aviary, the birds are having their baths in their individual cages, and in the aviary, the birds out there are enjoying the bath. If you remember, I tried to do this last week. The first thing they done was land on the camera, tilted it, so it was out there for 3 hours, and I got some really good shots of the floor, and which reminds me that probably needs a sweep. So here are some of the lizard canaries that are outside, and they're enjoying having a bath and a little bit of a sup of water. Now they all have a go. They all tend to come down as a group generally. Safety in numbers. I really like seeing Napoleon Weaver again. So he's got his molt and he's looking really, really good. I mean, the lizard canaries are looking really quite nice as well. Look, that's a young one from this year. Male or female, I don't know yet. There was a technique Andy Beasley said about the eyes, level with a beak. I took 30 photos and a photo of each bird, put a line through the beak and kind of judged the eye, so that should be, I'll have to do that as a separate thing because I'm still scratching me noddle a little bit, and but I might see Andy this week hopefully, so that would be nice, and he can point me in some better directions than my head's bumping into with trying to sex the birds. Now, I've got a couple that are singing, young ones in the aviary that are singled off. 003, the one that was moulting earlier, and he's actually moulted out to be a cockbird as well, because it is quite evident when they after the molt as well. So that's good. And looking at the measurement on the eye, Andy, yes, indeed, it was correct. So yeah, that's something to look at. Now, while the others are out in the aviary, I have a pot on the floor with soil, and what I do, I put in lots of the sprouting seed, water it, cover it over, let it grow for a few days, and then I just dig it over, sprinkle more seeds underneath, etc. And it just gives them something. They love jumping around in it, and obviously getting the feet dirty because they've got a bath next door, so they can do. You'll have to excuse the camera. It's on. These phones are on autofocus, so if it comes into where they're focusing range, then it will focus. If they wander out, then it gets confused. No different from me. And so yeah, you can see these picking up little bits out of there. They quite enjoy it. It gives them something to do. Like I say, there's lots of grasses in the aviary as well. And the wife was saying that, it's really nice to see them, and maybe we'll get some more grasses for next year. So I can grow them in pots probably outside, because when they're young, obviously these will pick them to bits. So grow them outside into trays or troughs, and then just put them in at some point next year before they all grow out, because these normally are in the nest obviously early in the year when they're hatched out. Then there's not much going on in the aviary, which is why I like the finches out there, because they just stay out there as eye candy kind of thing all through the year. But so yeah, you can see they're enjoying having a little pick. They all go down again, safety in numbers. 1 goes down, 2 goes down, and then you've got a dozen. And there's a couple. There's the weavers having a good old nibble as well. This will also attract insects. The weavers will probably enjoy insects more than the canaries, But when I put insects directly, like little pinky or waxworms in, they don't really bother with them. But I've seen them looking at bugs and bits on the floor, so maybe they just like something that's really tiny. It sounds like one of the neighbours is now cutting the lawn. I apologise. Probably sounds better than me waffling on. So what to do, I'll cut that short. Okay, onwards, ever onwards. I apologise to the neighbour cutting the lawn. Anybody think it's summer? So everything's slowly now being put away. Nest pans in the cupboard, all cleaned, disinfected, put in the cupboard, as in the nest baskets. I've got enough nesting material and nesting fibre for next year as well. They didn't really use loads and loads this year, which was good of them. Saved me a few pounds. There's also other little jobs that I'd like to get done coming up. This is, we all have plans what we think we might be doing. This is the small door that leads from the bird room into the aviary outside, and just above it you see it's got a bit of space, and I want to put some brackets and a pole across to hold the reels of paper tissue that I use for cleaning, wiping, etc. Moving further along around on that same wall, you can see it's really messy. I've just got shelves. Now I want to build something there that's encased with doors, and there's a valid reason for that. Which will be evident in a few episodes time when I speak to a doctor. That's interesting, isn't it? That's got you thinking. Now, while I was out in the garden, chilling out, as I said last week, I chill out in the garden. I sometimes take the water out, give it 30 minutes before I put it back in if there's any meds going in the water. And I noticed something land in the garden just to my left. And it was this massusive. I mean, it was big. It was as big as your thumb. Now, I don't mind wasps, bees, even the odd hornet, although you've got to keep on your toes. Years ago, I had got stung, ended up in hospital, so I'm quite wary. Now, this was a big jobby. Look. I mean, if you can see this now, can you see its bumps wobbling up and down? It's bright orange and yellow. It looks like it's going to sting something at a moment's notice. I've not seen one around like this before. It was huge. Now I know you guys in Australia, you probably get things the size of small children flying around with wings on. Well, over here, if it's the size of your thumb, it's a life-threatening danger, right? So it took off, and I couldn't see where it went. And a few days ago, we just had the Olympics. Now, if there's a gold medal for a man hopping around the garden that breeds canaries, looking like a Benny Hill episode, I've got gold medal. I weren't hanging around. I don't know where it went. It went somewhere, and I weren't risking it landing on me because I don't want another stint in hospital. As it works out, it's a hoverfly. So I don't think it'd have took me off. I think I'd have been perfectly safe. But it's lovely to see. It's huge. Look at the colours on it. They're brilliant. Brilliant. Love that. So, smells and pongs. Going back to what the episode was going to be about. I had a little post from somebody put on in the week on one of the forums about the quite bad smell they were getting from their birds. And I don't really get a smell. I know sometimes we can get a nose will adjust to a situation or an item. I mean, I work in a hospital. We get some rather nasty pongs, and you acclimatise, or your nostrils do. Well, your brain tells your nostrils it's acclimatising, but it's still quite a smell. Now, I've had people come over and look at my bird room. They come in and they say it doesn't smell, so I'm quite happy with that. So what I thought I'd go through roughly what I do. And then the people that were having a problem can come and see what I do, and if they can change to do something similar, it might help them out maybe. Or of course it could be a poorly bird with something coming out of it that shouldn't be. So I use Easy Chick bedding. Been using this for 2 years. I sometimes use just a bit of plain paper on the bottom of the trays, but generally I use Easy Chick. The birds droppings come straight through the grill, the wire grill. Some sticks to the grill, so we wash those. It drops onto the Easy Chick bedding. Now, normally during the week, I'll go in once or twice with a gloved hand, take out the soiled stuff because it tends to dry it, and replace it with a bit of clean. And then every couple of weeks, I would say, I will, which is when the bin men are due, I will change the whole lot. So every 2 weeks it does get changed on the bottom as routine. During that time, I just remove the mess and replace it with a bit of handful of the clean bedding. So what else might there be in there that's smelling? Obviously, I have a drip tray underneath the water, so I put my dirty water in there before I put the clean in for the birds each day. So I empty that regular. Doesn't really smell, don't really get smells from that. Any feeders, if there's any soiled overnight or during the day when I go in the morning, there's something soiled, I don't put obviously food in it, that goes in a pot for cleaning. Also the grill on the floor, I'll clean them out probably once every week and a half, weather dependent sometimes. But I give them a really good spray outside and clean them. So that because feces will stick to that, of course. The feeders inside the aviary, where they wipe their beaks, that can leave residue. That residue can go off. That can get bacteria. That could smell, and that could also have stuff in for the birds that would cause them digestive issues, etc. That's where bugs will live. It is bacteria. Smell is bacteria gone off. Well, not bacteria's gone off, but you know, making the food go off. So we have to be careful. If I've got any food holders, like a bit of cuttlefish, as in the picture, if that gets soiled, that gets changed straight away. The perches, they wipe their beaks on the perches, as we know. That sometimes builds up, and then I will take them out and clean them as and when necessary. The water itself, the water containers, I'll probably only wash them thoroughly once, maybe twice a week. If I'm using something that has an aroma in the water, some of the supplements might have a bit of an aroma, then the following day I'll wash them so it doesn't continue with that aroma, because obviously that can be a build-up of bacteria after that if it starts getting stale, which we don't want. So that's my little sort of routine. Obviously I do the general sweeping up, tidying up, and try to keep things clean as possible, and that really stops it smelling and having a bit of a pong about. So yeah, that's what I do with that. Swiftly moving on to training. I've only really got one cage I use for training at the present time, and so to induce the birds into the cage, I use some bits of string on a little S clamp. As you see me making these up here in the photos. I dip them in honey, gives them a little bit of a treat when they get there, and I'll just hook that to the top. And as you'll see, the razors having a little chew on that. I've got them in some of the flights as well, these little honey strings, and that stops the hopefully helps stop the feather picking, etc. So here's the bird jumping into the cage. I'll put the food at the end of the cage as well, so they can fly through and getting used to going in and out of the cage. Really makes them feel a bit more at home. I try to be in there as often as possible while I'm doing this, so they're used to people going around, because you know, judges will move their hand around, and so the birds may turn around so they can get a good view of what they're judging. So you know, it's nice to get them used to that, and this is my effort. I've only got the one, so I'm just altering that between the different cages, and then when I decide which birds I think will be going into the show, of course I can focus a little bit more on them. I may put them in some of the proper show cages to get used to the smaller one, but you have to catch the birds up to do that, and I don't really want to do that as often if I can help it. Because you know, you can ruffle the feathers, pluck a feather by mistake, you know, a feather might come out or whatever, so accidents happen, don't they? So we're trying to avoid that. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do with the training. The birds are getting used to it, and it's also a nice way of seeing the spangling, the feathers on the back of the bird and the heads, how they're looking. So once they've continued through their molt, be able to assess those as well, just using this and putting a phone above it. Nice and easy, lemon squeezy. So, rest of the birds having a chew on the polygonum still goes in every day, sometimes every second day, but noticeably they start with the stems, having a little chew on the stems, and they're all the same, look, which is interesting. So if you're ever putting just the leaves in, bear in mind they clearly like the stems. Now, whether that makes a difference or not to the amount of pigment change in the feet and the beaks, I don't know. But they all started on the stems first, so that's just a little interesting notice of them. So, but they also obviously have a chunk of the leaf, but they all love it when they put them in. So that just leaves me now really just to scan round the bird room. There's not a massive change though, like you see. I've introduced the bath, they get off of the bath. I've only got 4 of those bath containers, and I just alternate them, clean the water to go through. They're all on a bit of spinach at the moment. This was in the morning. So we're all having a bit of spinach. These are all birds that are singled off that I'm colour feeding. Like I say, there's 13 that I'm colour feeding, and a lot of the other birds, the remaining birds, won't be colour fed. So that next year I'll know that they're my younger birds, so I can set them down later in the season. I plan to do like a 2-phase thing next year. That's the cunning plan. And so we'll see how it works. What I shall do is probably re-watch some of these episodes I've done in January and think, what would I do different next year? I've learnt a massive amount from guys that, and thank you for that, that get hold of me after the episodes and chat and give me tips. And that's brilliant for learning. I didn't expect to get that when I started. I really just started doing this just to get just to promote breeding canaries. It's a great hobby, and there's a couple of young ones that you're looking at now as well. That's the last 2 young ones. Now that bird there, the mother 028 ring from last year, was the last one hatched last year, so this is fine for her. She would be late in the year, so that's just sort of her timing. So they might not be ready for show, but they might well be ready for something, not maybe next year, even the year after. But if they're nice birds, then fantastic. So in the top there we've got all the hens, and they're going outside at the moment with the rasers and getting some sunshine. All the younger ones are inside. Like I say, Andy said he might be able to pop over during the week, so I'd like him to have a look at those young ones and see if there's any there I need to single off, which would be brilliant to do. Obviously for me it's a massive help. And at the bottom there's some cockbirds separated, so they're started molting, so they're just chilling out. They're quite happy. They're not sort of scrapping too much, unlike the young rasers. You can see now they were being plucked, and they are now those feathers are growing back. You can see the pins coming through, which is brilliant. So they're all coming back, and they'll be nice and healthy birds in a few weeks' time when the feathers come through. So that's all the birds gone round. So hopefully you've enjoyed watching again. Just my tips on cleaning mainly, isn't it? And it is a constant thing, cleaning, that we keep doing it. As long as you only do a few minutes each day, it's not a massive chore. So that's one of the tips, isn't it? Keep on top of things, really. I mean, I don't know if anyone's been over to see Mike Berlin's birds on his episodes that he does. It's absolutely spotless. Pretty sure he's got a butler or somebody like that, housekeeper, that goes in and does the birds. It's far too clean, but it's brilliant. But just, sometimes a few minutes, 30 minutes a day, and it's all done, isn't it? Keeps on top of it. So thanks very much for watching, everybody. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it again. Hope it's entertaining for you. I've got to get my breath back after running around the garden with a hoverfly chasing me, so I need a coffee now. With something in it. And we'll see you all next week. So hope you're well. Hope the birds are well. See you soon. Bye-bye.